Oh God, I have no idea what to play. Welcome to the JoMiRo podcast. There you go. There's the intro. Here, you need to take that away, stagehand. All right, hold on.
I'm gonna cry.
All right, we're in podcast mode now on my microphone that I bought for this exact instance. All right. Welcome to the JoMiRo podcast, where we're going to talk about really, I think, whatever we can come up with in 10 seconds before we hit record. JoMiRo. That is JoMiro. JoMiRo. So, my name is Michael Kripe. I don't do anything. Next to me, I have Joe LaFaciano. Joe, what do you do?
Apparently, I'm the stagehand.
Joe is the stagehand, and we also have the row in JoMiRo, Robert Adams. Robert, what do you do?
I do graphic design, voice acting, and other things.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What kind of other things?
I write for a newspaper.
That's my job.
I thought you did nothing.
I don't do anything. I take that back.
Yeah, I also don't do anything. I'm lying right now.
We're a group of liars, everyone. That's essentially what you need to gather from this first episode. So how have you guys been since our last episode? This is episode 1, by the way.
Yeah. The fabled beginnings.
The fabled beginnings. No, wait, that's a lie. Robert, what do you do? What do you do online? What have you done online?
I guess I am logged on. I have a stream, sort of, question mark. I guess. Yeah, I guess like I do some streaming. And
It's been a little bit. You've been taking a break, yeah?
a long break.
That's nice. Breaks are fine. Their breaks are always a good thing.
Yeah, it might turn into a hiatus or a sabbatical for my doctoral people out there.
What did you stream? What kind of things did you stream?
Oh gosh, you're interviewing me, Michael.
Robert, I thought you knew this was an interview.
Oh god, I played games. I played children's games, and I talked to little children, and I babysat them.
No, that is absolutely false.
What's your favorite children's game?
No, I'm just kidding. I played video games online, and I had conversations with people of all sorts of ages and people from around the world, most notably United Kingdom and Chile and the Philippines. And most of the games were just like relaxing sort of multiplayer games, which allowed for like commentary. So usually just be playing like something like Agario, or I play a little bit of chess online, but then I dropped that because the chess community is booming. And it's oversaturated. And then I played a bunch of geography stuff because I love geography.
You do love geography.
Yeah.
You are the flag guy.
I am the flag guy.
You are.
I do love flags.
So in the next roundup of lies, I do not do anything. I don't not do anything. My name is Michael Kripe. I write for The Escapist when I work from home, and I also do a little bit of work part-time here in the lovely city of Redacted. Yeah, that's about it. I have a lot of fun over there. It's a really cool site. You should go check it out. Joe, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want me to call you?
Joe.
Joe?
My name. Yeah,
Oh
Joe.
my God.
Oh, jeez.
Joe is in fact a stagehand. So today we're going to be talking about a couple things. Each of us has brought a topic to talk about today. We'll record this as much as we want to. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It could be never again. This might be the only episode of this podcast, but I'm hoping it's not. And that's about how it's going to go. I think for every episode, we'll each have something else we want to talk about. Maybe it's related to what's going on in the world. Maybe it's not. But for today, I would say it kind of is. And then we'll have something that is a little more relatable toward the end. So who would like to go first? Joe, do you want to talk about how you set fire to a local Amazon warehouse after they did not deliver a package?
Just want to step in here and say that is not true. I did not set fire to anything. Just to get that on the air. Um, sure. I'll tell my little story real quick. So recently, I was bored just on YouTube watching some videos, and I came across a video of somebody with a butterfly knife, and they were kind of spinning it around and doing some cool tricks, and I was like, oh, that looks really cool. So I looked into it, and I looked into getting a butterfly knife. Turns out they're illegal. Didn't know that. But butterfly knife trainers are not. A butterfly knife trainer is the same as a butterfly knife, but the blade is really like dull, and you can't really cut anybody with it. So I guess that's what makes it legal. So I went to go search around to buy a butterfly knife trainer because I was like, you know what? I'm bored. So my new hobby will be spinning around a butterfly knife.
Joey, when did you get into knives?
Thursday.
Knives?
Yeah. Yeah, Thursday, whenever I saw the video, I was like, oh, butterfly knife spinning looks really cool and fun. I'm sure I can do this. So I looked around, couldn't find anywhere local. So I was like, oh, let me turn to Amazon. So there I go. I went to Amazon and I was like, oh, they have plenty here because Amazon has everything. And I bought a knife and I was like, oh, I'm going to have this delivered tomorrow so that I can, get to spinning. So Saturday comes around and I get a message on my phone saying your package has been delivered. It was delivered, but it wasn't delivered to me. Where it was delivered to, I have no clue. So here I am without a butterfly knife trainer, nothing to spin around. And I messaged them on Twitter, I emailed them, I filled out a little survey, and we talked for a few hours. And it just concludes with Amazon telling me, like, hey, wait a couple days, and if it's still not there, then maybe we'll do something. That's the end of my story, and I'm upset because I'm not spinning a butterfly knife right now. And that's all I wanted to do this week. And I've been looking forward to this since I saw the video on Thursday.
How does this relate to your feelings about the anti-union sentiment expressed by Amazon?
Yeah, Joey, tell us. Obviously, you're up to date with what's going on in Alabama. There's a union vote that's going on. I'm sure you have some strong opinions about it.
The main theme of this show is that we are liars. I have no idea what's going on. I do not keep up with the news.
Does that mean you do know what's going on and you do, in fact, keep up with the news?
That part is the truth. That is the truth.
You do know
No,
what's
no,
going
no.
on. You
What?
do not. Joey does not. Joe does not know what's going on. His name is Joe, not Joey.
My name is Joe, not Joey.
I actually, okay,
So-
so one thing I just thought about, I've been actually curious about this with like just like shipping companies in general. I think Amazon is a great example. How do they verify that something is in fact stolen, or like in your case, I'm sure they probably make the process complicated to like if someone is lying about it, they probably would get bored. At least that's what I'm assuming. I could be wrong, but like I don't know. How do they like confirm that? Like I don't know.
Yeah, that does seem really tough. You would think it would just kind of be on like a trust system, but that gets abused very often and very easily. So they can't really do that. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. I just kind of hope they trust me because I'm telling the truth here, and I don't have my butterfly knife trainer, not the real one. The real one's illegal.
So let me ask, what is your goal with this butterfly knife trainer? Is this just a skill you wanted to pick up, or are you auditioning for a part in a movie where you are a greaser cornering the main character
Oh,
in
Joey,
a alleyway?
you could be a greaser 100%. You could pull it off.
You know, my main purpose was this just to give me something to fidget with while I have nothing going on. But if somebody wants to hire me as as butterfly knife thug in the alley, I will take it. I will hone my skills and I will be there for the audition. Just let me know when.
Oh, real quick, what would your one-liner be? Because these extras usually have like one line that they say to the main character. What would you say? Let me set up the scene. You just ran into the main character. He came out of a burger joint, he's surprised to see you and 3 other dudes. You step forward, you pull out the butterfly knife.
Very different
Maybe it
things.
is a butter knife. You pull out a butter knife and you start spinning it around, and then you say something when you're done spinning. What is that?
Well, I'd be saying it while I'm spinning because spinning never stops. It would go something like, "Hey, punk, you're in the wrong neighborhood." As I'm spinning it around. That is all.
I'm scared of you right now.
Up all the things.
So this is going to be an entirely audio-based podcast. You will not have any visual paired with our voices. So I'll go ahead and paint the picture of what Joe looks like as he sits next to me flipping his imaginary butterfly knife. Joe is approximately 6'5", and he is possibly the most muscular man I've ever met in my life. And he's very broad-shouldered. So if you can just picture that in a leather jacket with slicked back hair, and completely shaved sides of his head. All of his hair is just on top. Everything else, the back, is completely bald. You can picture that greased over, cornering you in an alleyway. I imagine the sun is all but nearly gone. And it's terrifying me as I sit here now.
I'm
So
quivering with fear.
how long until society knows that it needs to hide from you? Do you know when you're getting your butterfly knife?
No.
You heard it here first, folks.
I like to imagine that Joey is just like just dripping with grease in his hair. Like it's just like falling off of his head.
As he approaches his prey, I imagine he drinks a cup of grease halfway down and pours it on his body and then throws the glass against the wall. And then I don't know if you'll ever murder anyone with your butterfly knife that isn't even real.
Trainer. It's a trainer.
Mm-hmm. They're illegal. Don't buy butterfly knives because they're illegal. So you probably can't anyway. But he would be maybe the most intimidating force of nature on the planet. So for now, society is safe. Is that correct?
Safe from me, at least.
Safe from him, at least. You heard it here first, folks. The pandemic rages on, but the streets are safe from Joe. So I think that's going to do it for part 1 of the podcast. Up next, we have... well, is there any more you want to say? I don't want to cut you off. Are you done?
Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Amazon, please help.
You're now begging for help from Amazon. The face of corporate America.
Yes. I just want my butterfly knife trainer.
This might be a 2-person show going forward.
The Miro
now,
podcast coming next week.
I'm going to remain scared of Joe for now and assume he's on in the future, but we're working it out with our lawyers to see if we can get him off of this program. So today, I think I'll go first unless you are, just ready to go.
No, I think it makes sense. JoMiRo. I think.
Oh my gosh,
that's how it should go. I think
it falls in order.
Yeah.
Young Robert has cracked the code.
Even though
so I'll go next then.
Go ahead.
Do any of you have any experience with cocaine?
I mean, so I've never tried it, but I had friends in college who did, and I had seen it several times, and I'd seen people on it. So I guess I know a little bit of the reaction that people have to it. And then also I had some experience when I was in college with some people abusing it. And so we got to have some fun conversations there. But I don't know what you are looking for in my answer here.
No, I think that answers my question perfectly. You guys know me. The world does not. I am in terms of sinning. I am just about as much of a goody two shoes as it comes. I do not drink or smoke or anything of that nature. I just indulge in addictive behavior in the form of video games and eating
Can't
unhealthy
confirm.
foods. But I I'm continuing this question over to Joe, with the exception of what I'm going to talk about. What is your experience with cocaine?
With the exception of what you're about to talk about, my experience is nothing. Haven't seen it, haven't done it.
Okay, I've neither seen it nor done it nor been asked to do it, nor seen people on it. Like I said, I'm pretty sheltered, privileged, if you will. Unless I wanted cocaine, then I'm very unprivileged, um, because I don't have any and I've never done it.
Mhm.
And I've never been offered it until the other night.
Oh,
So I have this friend who will remain unnamed,
Mhm.
um, but his name is Caleb.
okay.
I immediately changed my mind on deciding to not name him, but his name is Caleb, and he invited me over to his house, me as well as Joe,
I was also
and
there.
a man who lives in Oregon named Garrett. We all went over to Caleb's house on Friday. We do not live in Oregon, for the record. And Garrett and Caleb got very drunk. I did not. And a an individual out of their mind came to our door offering us cocaine.
I'm gonna chime in real quick and just say it's an apartment, not a house.
Sure.
Yeah, just
Few clarifying
there. Yeah.
questions before you continue, if that's all right.
That's the idea.
Do I know this Garrett? Obviously, don't want to give away anyone's names, but
That is correct.
oh, okay. And then did did you guys know the fifth person who showed up?
Absolutely not.
Did anyone there know who he was?
It is a woman,
Oh,
and
woman. Sorry,
absolutely not.
Yep. Nope. None
I
of
thought you
us
said
have
he
ever seen
earlier.
her
My
before.
bad.
She looked like an elementary school teacher, and she, in fact, used to be a teacher of some sort. She was shorter, very mild mannered, nice, um, kind even. She heard us laughing because we were all having fun, hanging out with each other,
Mhm.
and we all had to give her not our names, um, and so that we just out of fear, really. Um, and she heard us laughing and said, "Well, why don't I go see if I can make them laugh?" And she told us some pretty crude jokes, and then she asked Garrett into the hallway on the third floor of this apartment that might as
Oh,
well have been in the pits of hell. And she said, "Would you boys like some cocaine?"
did she say it like that?
I have absolutely no idea because this was a whispering conversation, that took place outside of the room we were in. Um, and Garrett said, "No, thank you," and came back into the apartment room we were in. And he said, "I want you guys to know that she 100% just offered me cocaine." We didn't really know what to do. She later left and looked for her son she was waiting for. We found out eventually that he was imaginary. He was not real.
Oh,
We don't know that for sure.
Well, she was talking to no one at one point and running supposedly in circles and then away down the stairwell. Um, but she went from very mild mannered and nice to, I think the cocaine might have kicked in because she completely lost it. She also came back at one point asking our names, just trying to get a handle on what kind of people we were, I think. Um, and none of us gave her our real names except for Joe, of course, because he has nothing to be scared of.
Yeah, everyone was giving fake names, and I was like, "Well, I mean, Joe's one of the most common names out there, so I'll give her my real name." I hope that doesn't come back to bite me.
But she was acting, let's say, off her rocker, I suppose. And she eventually left, and it was just a scary experience. But like I said, I'm fairly sheltered when it comes to my life, so it was an experience for me, and I thought maybe, well, it was strange to be offered cocaine by a school teacher who was talking to her invisible son. But maybe it's not so unusual for my friends Joe and Robert. Um, but it turns out it is just unusual in general, um, across the board. It seems.
Well, do you mind if I chime in here?
I would love for you to chime in.
So I guess um, there's like, at least from my experience, there's like different groups of people that use cocaine, and I think that from what you're describing, it seems like someone who is, I don't know, I obviously was not there, and perhaps I'm making some assumptions here, but it seems like um, this is someone who's kind of fallen into this place. Like from what I've seen, there's like people who use it for like fun and productivity, and then there's the people who have kind of like fallen into addiction. Um, and I don't know, from what you're describing, it seems like maybe she had fallen into it, especially based off the erratic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like, so from when I was in college, I knew like so many people used to do it while they went out drinking, and there's like two things that happen there. Um, you don't feel as drunk from how it's been described to me, but the danger there is you can overconsume, because
Mm.
you don't, whenever you are drinking, you start to feel like you're getting drunk, or you start to
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're getting sick or something. Your body starts to tell you, I've reached my limit. But when you're in cocaine, it doesn't really, you're not really getting that feeling. Um, and so that's where like a lot of people can, uh, I don't know if overdose is the right word, but like they can like find themselves in some serious trouble. Um, but like I know people who used to do that all the time. They would go to the bars, they drink, and then I mean it's like straight out of a movie. And I don't know if maybe they got this idea from a movie or if it's the most convenient place to do it, but it was always in a bathroom. Like I always saw people. There were several times where I would go to the bathroom. I was at the bar, and there's like just three dudes like huddled around the sink, and I'm like, all right. um, uh, I think my time to leave has come. Um, but like, there's definitely like a snap reaction that you see from people. So I'm assuming whenever she offered Garrett, she probably whenever he left her, she might have done some, which would explain the change in behavior. But also, I don't really have a whole lot of experience with this to, I don't know, give a full opinion. That's just what I know.
No, that makes sense. And I if I had to guess, I'd say you're probably right. She might have come in and done some, or she might have come in and talked to us, left, and done some sort of drug, and then come back at it. I just want to be completely clear. I do wish her the best. She was very kind to us,
Mm-hmm.
and she was just trying to show us a good time. But in the moment, this is the first time I've ever been over to Caleb's house, his apartment. I apologize. Um, it was a little nerve wracking, I suppose. Um, but now, in retrospect, I wish her the best. She seemed very nice, and I hope she finds her footing. And if he is real, her son. What's so funny?
Yeah, come on, Joey.
You can't just assume that her son isn't real just because you didn't see him.
All I know is it was reported to me from Garrett,
Reliable source.
a reliable source, that she was having a conversation with no one at one point. And she also explained that she lived up there and did not know which room she lived in.
Yeah.
So,
so that adds up to her son being imaginary.
It
Bless you.
Thank you.
adds a little bit to it, I think, in my opinion.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. I do believe she has a son who has a son.
Well, there's also a potential that she could have been using other drugs as well, like hallucinogenics.
Of course.
I don't think cocaine has. I mean, I really don't know. I don't think it has some
It
hallucinogenic property to it.
It didn't seem like cocaine behavior based on what I've heard cocaine is like. But so I'm inclined to agree, but who knows? It was a very odd situation, and I suppose that's what I'm trying to get across here. We come here to the JoMiRo podcast, and we just share little pieces of our lives, sort of like our name is little pieces of our names.
Oh, look at that! Yeah. No, I actually, since you mentioned that, I want to say something because that reminded me of a memory, and then also something that happened back in November. So for people that aren't aware, you mentioned the state of Oregon, which actually relates right back into this. They decided to decriminalize all drugs across the board.
Correct.
Same with the District of Columbia. And then Oregon also legalized shrooms, psilocybin. So I think there's something to be said. There's like drugs, especially from like I think the 80s and 90s, there was like this fear of cocaine, and I think that kind of comes from this like propaganda that stemmed from like before we were born. I believe it comes from the Reagan era, which it kind of like attaches itself to the wealth gap that we have in this country. There's this idea that like poor people are addicted to crack cocaine and going crazy, but I think at the same time, like that stereotype is starting to change as people are starting to accept drug use. Like, I think that people can have healthy experiences with drugs, and can even like learn things about themselves. Like I know, like especially from like mushrooms, a lot of people express like positive benefits. I don't know anything about cocaine. Maybe some people can use that and find themselves be more productive. But there definitely is like it's kind of like anything that people do in life. You have to like weigh the balance that you have with addiction. If you find yourself like needing something, then that's when you realize you have a problem. If you're doing something for fun, like truly in the essence of fun, not to try and make something more fun, if that makes sense, then perhaps people can use drugs healthily. I don't really know. It's not. I don't think that's for me per se, but I don't know. But also the memory that you reminded me of was when random people show up at your door, there's always like this instance of like, okay, why? Well, first, it's like, why are they here? Second thought that I usually have is like, am I safe?
Yes.
So I want to tell you guys about a story that happened my junior year of college. Yeah, junior year, where my friend Spencer invited me to this party at a bar on the other side of town in Lawrence, Kansas. Never been to this bar before ever. And we didn't want to drive there because we were going to be drinking. And also we didn't want to ask anybody to DD for us because it was like a 30-minute drive. And so KU, University of Kansas, has this service where they will drive people back to your house. It's kind of like they don't ask what's going on as long as it's like a way to get people back safely to their place. So we found this apartment complex right next to the bar, and we called them and we lied and we said that we lived at this apartment complex and we need to get back there. And so they picked us up and we got dropped off at this apartment complex, and the guy was just waiting there watching us. And so we were like, okay, we have to go inside one of these apartments.
Was he? I assume he was watching you to make sure you made it in safely, correct?
Yes, probably
Okay.
that. But I think the fear had kind of kicked in that he was gonna like report on us or something,
Mm-hmm.
because we were overthinking it. So we knocked on some stranger's door to see if we could just come inside. And this dude let us into his house.
Oh.
Like, we just explained the situation, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, come on in." And he was super chill about it. He's like super relaxed. Um, and then we just like waited for a little bit, and the car drove off, and then we just walked across the street to the bar. So there's like there's like people. It's like it's hard to decide people's intentions because we totally could have been like, I don't know, burglars just like breaking into this dude's house, but for some reason he decided to place trust in us for that moment. That's an aside. I don't know. Just wanted that. You reminded me of that.
So you're telling me you offered this man cocaine
No, we should have, but
because he was so helpful.
yeah.
Did you have some to offer?
No, we didn't. No one. I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
anyone in that group did. But I'm just thinking about it. There's kind of like the opposite scenario. We were 5 people
Mhm.
showing up to one person's house, and this was one lady showing up to your guys' place. Completely different reactions based off of
Right.
behavior.
I think you can kind of tell the mood of the situation when someone knocks on your door, almost the first few seconds you see them.
Mhm.
When we first saw her, it was sort of like, oh, hi, because we were expecting a noise complaint
Uh-huh.
because we were being too loud.
It was like 11:30 at night,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yep, exactly. So to have her turn around and start telling us jokes, it was like a little bit of uneasiness. It was like, oh, this is really strange at this time of night. And I imagine you and your group of friends presented yourselves as a friendly party, and I imagine that's he put his trust in you. Maybe he shouldn't have.
Yeah. I
But
hope we seem friendly.
To be fair, if I was in his shoes, I probably most likely would have denied you entrance.
oh, without a
No,
doubt.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
I would
fact
not have
that we
let you
got
guys
it,
into my house.
like the fact that we got it on the first try, I was just astounded, and his reaction was just utterly surprising to me. Sorry, Michael, continue.
That's all. That's all I was gonna say. I just I think you're right. I think that's fascinating that there can be different reactions. I just imagine, he probably saw you guys and you presented yourselves as friendly individuals. And how old was the person who let you in? Did he seem like another student? Like maybe that was why, or is he just a guy, just a civilian,
Yeah, civilian. Yeah,
an
we were
innocent
actually.
bystander in this crime?
There was a war going on in the western part of Lawrence that time of year, so we were right in the middle of no man's land. This guy was, I think he must have been like maybe a graduate student. He was definitely like in his mid-20s. Um, I can't remember what we talked about. We had like a small conversation with him, and he had like 3 cats, and so we were mostly just like sitting on his couch, petting the cats, and he got himself a drink, and he just like sat down and hung out with us for a little bit.
Yeah, he does seem pretty chill. Sounds
Yeah,
nice.
it was crazy.
Now I'm starting to wonder if maybe you and your friends put yourselves in danger.
I mean, there's a chance. Like, maybe he was like, I don't know, some sort of like murderer. He's just like looking for his next victim, and he's like, great, they showed up. They came to me.
Yeah, if that was the case, he didn't have to look pretty hard.
I don't know.
Either way, I'm glad this worked out for the best, not only for you and your friends, but for me and the guys who went to Caleb's that night as well.
Yeah, I'm curious. Did you guys let her into your place at all?
Absolutely not.
No,
Okay.
she was stuck at the doorway like a vampire.
So did you guys like keep her there in the doorway, or did someone?
Garrett is a tall individual with large hair.
Yeah.
And he is also fairly muscular, not nearly as big as Joe. But she didn't stand a chance if she ever tried to try anything funny.
Mm.
So She remained at the doorway, but again, she seemed content to be there. She made no effort to enter the apartment, and she did peep her head in a few times to kind of look and see who was in there, which was a little concerning. And asking of our names and where we're from and what we're doing and how long we were staying was definitely very concerning.
Oh,
Mhm.
Um, but certainly the most concerning part of the interaction with this woman was her offering of cocaine, mixed with these things. Um, but in general, I think we all felt safe, just unnerved.
Oh yeah,
Is that fair to say?
I feel like I was in no harm.
Well, I think that about wraps up what I wanted to cover with my topic. It was just it's something that happened to me recently that I kind of wanted to share with you guys, and get your thoughts on that. And Robert over here came with a very good example of, I don't know, Joe. Have you ever had someone come to your door and you felt unnerved? Because I think that might be the most unnerved I've been when someone's come to my door. I think everyone has at some point someone knock on their door, an unwanted guest, if you will.
yeah.
In recent memory, I
Besides
can't.
Amazon.
I didn't knock on my door.
Yeah.
That was a problem. In recent memory, I can't really think of anything. I have a dog who's fairly quiet, but if you knock on the door, he goes berserk. He just like explodes. So luckily, people don't really knock on my door often. Even when I order food and stuff, I leave in the notes, please don't knock on the door or my dog will explode. Um,
Smart.
Is that a threat?
so no, and I really can't think of a time. Was there ever a time in college? Michael and I lived together in college. We shared a house.
That is correct. I can confirm.
Was there ever a time?
Um, Shockingly, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of different times people would have come over to our apartment. I remember we actually met our roommate for junior year, Brian, because he knocked on our door quite often, and knocked on many doors, trying to make friends, desperate, in fact. That's not exactly how we met him, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
And that turned into a valuable friendship. Um, and But otherwise, I can't think of anything in particular where someone showed up to my door, or even before college, where
Yeah.
they were a completely it was a hostile interaction, if that makes sense. My computer's getting a little loud here.
It wasn't necessarily a hostile interaction, but one night I got home from my apartment, unlocked the door, went inside, yada yada yada, went to sleep. At like 3 or 4 in the morning, somewhere between there, I get a knock on my door, and as you can expect, my dog explodes. um, so I get out of bed and I'm like, "Who's knocking on my door this early in the morning?" And come to find out, I open the door, and it's this dude, and he's like, "Hi, you probably don't know me. I'm your neighbor from across the hall because I've never met him before." And he was like, "I just want to let you know, you left your keys in your door." So for about 5 to 6 hours from when I got home to that moment, my keys were just sitting in my door. So kind of the opposite of an unpleasant guest. He actually kind of probably saved me because anybody could have just taken my keys and
Yeah.
off with my car or made a copy and got into my apartment or something. But luckily, there's still some good in this world.
Why did he choose 3 in the morning?
I assume that's when he was getting back home from whenever.
I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, I assume that's when he was coming home from to his apartment. He just happened to look across the hall and see that there's a set of keys just stuck in the lock of this door. Let me give it to this guy.
For some reason, my mind just imagined like he comes back home from work at like 9. He sees your keys and he's like, "I'll tell him about him," and he just like just totally forgets.
Yeah, I'll tell him about it. Let me just go in real quick and start making dinner. And it's
Yeah.
like 7 hours later. Oh wait, I forgot.
That was really nice of him, though. That is pretty cool.
I think it's safe to say most interactions between the three of us, at least, we've had with people knocking on our doors, it's been positive. Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
I'd say so. I don't think I've ever had like a negative interaction. I feel like people are. I feel like we're. I don't know. I'm making an assumption about you guys, but at least for me, I feel like there is this, um, like internal, just like suspicion. Uh, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe from like growing up, the idea of like stranger danger. But I guess I always assume that it's like the people are going to have some sort of bad intent with knocking on the door, aside from like people delivering packages or food. I don't know where that comes from, but like usually I feel like it's always been positive. I just always feel nervous at first.
I agree. I typically get nervous when I see someone knocking at the door, or hear someone knocking at the door, rather. But I I think I also get a little excited. It feels like an opportunity to talk with someone, So
Yeah.
it's weird. I don't know how this shifted into experiences with individuals at the door, but or maybe not individuals. Oh, you know what? Actually, I can think of a really positive example, and then we can move over to Robert's section of the podcast. So Father's Day, um, not last year, but 2019. Um, I had a little boy show up, and he said he was raising money to buy his father a gift for Father's Day. And he said, "If you give me some money, I will play you a song on this drum kit."
Hmm.
I remember
And
that.
it was a really positive experience. I was happy to give him some money to help out to surprise his dad. It was the worst song I've ever heard in my life. But I
So
I
talk
was
that
happy
counts.
to, yeah, of course. Um, and I hope he was able to get his father exactly what he wanted to get him, because it was really nice, and I was happy to help out, and I was happy to see him there doing something nice. So if that's all we want to share as far as people coming to our doors, Robert, what do you want to talk about on episode 1 of the JoMiRo podcast?
Yeah. First of all, that's really cool. The last time I feel like a child, the last time that I know of a child going to a door was like people sell like Boy Scouts selling popcorn. Um, that's interesting. It's like I don't know. It's like a creative way to raise
I know.
money.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Or if he
Um,
wasn't actually, getting money for his dad, it's a good way to make some money as a kid. Just
yeah.
saying.
How dare you?
Trying to scam people by playing this awful drum beat.
You
How
know,
dare you
it
assume that
probably
this
worked. Just saying, just throwing it out there.
I can't believe
Oh
you.
man.
This is strike 2 of one strike you're allowed to have on this show. Take that
Oops.
as you
While,
will.
while we're on
Oops.
this vein, I do have one more thing about just strangers. I feel like I don't know. Maybe this is just like the world of COVID has kind of changed my perspective a little bit, but I feel like my interactions with strangers have gotten more positive over time. I feel like I and other people have been like getting more talkative. Um, just like when I used to walk to work, I feel like people would just kind of pass, not even really making eye contact or like even gesturing that we acknowledge each other's existence. But now I feel like people are like talking more on the street. I don't know. That's just like from my experience walking to work. Because like there's a little bit between like the parking lot where I have to park and the actual building, and there's a bunch of people that are doing the same thing I'm doing. I'll just I don't know, just talk to. It's never the same person, surprisingly, but um, just
It,
something interesting.
it could come a lot from people kind of just being starved of socialization with the pandemic going on. Just people most of the time are spending their hours just sitting in the house doing nothing. So when you do have a chance to talk to somebody, it's nice to just kind of, whether it's a stranger or not, just throw out a simple hello and then possibly start a conversation from there.
Yeah. I wonder if that's what sparked the lady to come offer you guys cocaine. Maybe she was feeling a little lonely.
I can't imagine it was anything else, to be perfectly honest with you. That's why I wish her the best. She at worst gave us an incredible story to share.
Yeah.
So I I think she really was just coming to pass it on. It just might have been some cocaine she was passing on, which we were not interested in. um, but yeah, I think people are um, maybe, or at least some people are a little more hungry for communication, and at the very least, when you do communicate with people now, at least to me, it feels like a positive experience with someone means a little more than it used to. Um, but yeah, I think I agree. Robert,
Well,
what do you want to talk about?
on a completely different note, I guess it has like some semblance of relation to what we're talking about with movie theaters and
Oh,
uh,
segue. I love it.
yeah, whether or not people will continue to gather in them. Total strangers gathering in one place together to share an experience. Will it continue or not? I feel like things are going to change. So, for those of you that aren't aware, I studied film in college, um, but instead of going the pretentious, snobby route, I decided to never use my major for anything except for talking about it. Um,
Nice.
um, when it comes to movie theaters, I've been watching a bunch of videos on YouTube about this and just hearing other people's perspectives. And I lived by a movie theater for almost 2 years here in Indy. Um, my place now is in a completely different part of town, but I literally live like a 1 minute drive from AMC theater, and AMC is actually something I want to talk about as well with like the stock. I know a lot of people have been paying attention to GameStop ever since the big Wall Street Bets Reddit thing went off. But there are a few other stocks that were involved with it as well, including BlackBerry and the one that I mentioned, AMC. Um, and as I was preparing for this, I was looking at the stock value that AMC has held over the past 7-8 years, and then also I looked into some of the other streaming services. So I'm sure, like, how many streaming services do you guys think that you have? Like, how many do you guys use, like, on a weekly basis?
On a weekly basis, or how many do I have access to at any point in time?
Let's go with access to at any point.
Um, I can think of maybe 5 or 6. Um, let's see here: Netflix, Hulu, YouTube TV. Um, I'm not sure if that technically qualifies as a streaming service, but YouTube TV, um, uh, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime Video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's everything I have access to.
How about you, Joey?
Yeah, for me, it's just for everything he mentioned minus YouTube TV. Those are the 4 that I have access to, and I use them semi often when I can. I don't know, me flipping between all 4 to just find something good to watch.
Yeah, I think I think that's something that's really common within our generation and especially Gen Z as well. Um, and I think that we're experiencing a little bit of a push and pull between old media and new media. It's interesting because AMC, like movie theaters, are a relic of the past, fighting to stay relevant with new media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if anyone keeps up with like stocks, AMC is currently at about $11. At its peak in about 2016, it was around 35. It hit that range again around 2017, but it has just been continuously trending downwards as people start to move away from the theater experience and onto the streaming experience that we all kind of interact with. Um, and as I was researching this, um, there are, take a guess how many streaming services there are, like, that you could get access to if you really want, if you had unlimited money.
So, like, how many streaming services exist? Correct.
Yeah,
Um, I would say somewhere between 30 to 40.
Michael.
Um, I'm trying to think of major players in because I'm sure there are streaming services that exist but don't necessarily pull in too many
Mhm.
people. So I'm trying to think of places like Paramount Plus and Peacock, something like I
Mhm.
forget what that one is.
I think
But
that one has The Office, and that's about it.
I think that's what people have it for. And I forgot. I also use HBO Max.
I
I
thought that
subscribe
too
to HBO
afterwards.
Max.
Yep.
Yep, completely forgot about it. But I don't know. In terms of major players that people actually use, maybe 15 to 20.
Hmm. Well, there are 200, more
You've
than 200 streaming services right now.
I think you're
It
lying.
no, I'm telling the truth.
source.
I could go through this and like there's stuff like Sling, like
We use that
each
in
of like
college.
the big phone companies has one, like AT&T TV. I think there's T-Mobile TV, Spectrum TV. There's even like that thing that just came out, Kibi, or I don't even know how you Quibi or whatever. It's like
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
the with the short videos that are like a few minutes or
it's
something.
dead. It's dead.
yeah.
It's dead.
I mean, there's also like ESPN Plus, and
Uh
there's
huh.
like stuff for NFL and NBA, like
You're
league
right.
passes or game passes.
I forgot about things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Like every single sport has its own streaming thing. Like a lot of these things get bundled up with like the big major players. But there's also like Hulu, like Twitch counts as a streaming service.
Okay, well, if we're considering things like that, I guess you're right. I guess 200 does make more sense. I guess
So
I
that's
was
the
just, thinking of like television entertainment
Yeah.
providers, things like
That's what I
that.
was thinking of.
so that's the thing is like it. I think we're getting to the point where it is getting hard for people to differentiate between like when people think of streaming services, they think of the major players, but there's also all these like smaller little things that like have a little piece of the pie that we use. It's kind of like that extra channel that you have on your television, like that you don't really watch that much anymore, but you still like use it for like that one show. Maybe you want to watch Ancient Aliens on the History Channel for some reason. Um, so you pay that extra $5 a month. Um, but there are there's so many different things, like for Fandango there's like IMDb has their own thing. Crackle, you guys remember Redbox? They have
Does
their own thing.
Redbox have a streaming service?
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. um and like I'm sure you guys also probably know, like there's like the niche options for different streaming services like Crunchyroll and like Funimation.
Yeah, you're right.
I think
Mhm.
DC, um yeah, DC Universe has one.
Mhm.
I really don't know what I was thinking in retrospect with my 15 to 20 answer when I'm perfectly aware of the streaming services like this.
I didn't think there was like that many like smaller ones.
Well, that's the thing is like I think this kind of plays into this idea that these smaller streaming services are allowed, like are able to make by because they kind of go unnoticed. Like we might go to, like I don't really pay for Funimation, but they will grant free stuff and they probably make money off of ads. And
Mhm.
Funimation isn't something that I go to like every day, whereas I might use YouTube every day.
Yeah.
Um, but they're still able to make that extra buck, which is why I think this is my point here, that I think AMC has potential to survive. It is a movie theater company. They have movie theaters, but there's this huge argument that nothing can replicate the movie theater experience.
Mhm.
I think that people could argue different ways on that. Like, you know, you can have your own home theater, or some people like I just don't really care for the theater experience. But I think that that argument doesn't really matter so much as long as AMC can find a way to break into the streaming service. Um, you know, their stock is sitting at, like I said, $11 right now. If they can find a way to capitalize on the situation, uh, because like streaming services are still there's so many, um, that they haven't been like bought out by other companies yet. Like each of these different things have their own little, you know, streaming services. And all of the big television networks have their own streaming services because they're trying to compete as well. They don't want to get phased out as the other old media is. Um, I think if AMC can get into this pie, I don't know. I think it's potentially profitable. Obviously, I'm no financial expert, but you know, the people on Reddit aren't picking these things just for memes. I know a lot of people want to like frame them as like meme stocks, but Wall Street Bets is like a really complex subreddit. Like a lot of the television stations like to talk about how much they use like the R word or uh, call each other like really obscene names. But beneath that like very thin layer of just like, I don't know, bad mouthing, there's some very like intelligent people here who are dedicating a lot of time to studying these stocks. Um, a lot of people were looking at AMC before this thing started to like fall into the meme like upswing. There's obviously people that get in on these trends, like they'll just buy because they see it on the news and they're like, oh, this thing is going crazy, I should buy now. And it's like they bought at the top and then it goes just just straight down afterwards. But someone made a really good point about how so when Joe Biden was vice president, obviously Obama was the president. Obama and old media, especially Hollywood, kind of had a special relationship. Um, and I don't know if Joe is competent enough to hold on to that relationship, or if that, you know, if anything has changed there. But I think that from a political sense, there's also viability for AMC to hang in there, just based off of the fact that Democrats control uh, Congress and the presidency. Um, you know, everyone's always trying to talk about like breaking up big tech. Um, so as long as Hollywood doesn't fall into that, I think that there's like, I don't know, I've made this case before, but like there's potential for AMC to stay alive and also make more money. They have a lot of debt right now, but um, I don't know. Like when you guys think about the last time you went to the movie theaters before like pre-COVID times, like would you say that that is like worth the experience?
Based on price, you mean?
Just anything. Like, do you think going to the theaters is worth it?
Um, I'm I'm extremely biased. I went to the movie theaters every single weekend pre-COVID, so yes, I definitely do. I'm also a massive movie watcher, so I definitely think it's worth it. Um, I think AMC was smart to take advantage of a movie pass type service that allowed us to pay a monthly fee to see movies every week without spending the extra money. But yeah, for me, it's worth it. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. I believe that both sides have a positive, whereas like on one side you have the people who prefer to stay at home, stay in like the comfort of your home. You don't have to get out and drive. You don't have to dress up nicely, or you don't even have to dress up at all. You can just kind of sit there on your couch and watch whatever you want for as long as you want. Take breaks by pausing it, whatever. But on the other hand, you do have the movie theater experience. You're surrounding yourself with a whole bunch of people who are also fans or presumably fans of what you're going to see. So you all get to experience that together. Um, Before the whole COVID thing happened and things started to get shut down, I think the last movie I saw was Endgame, and sitting in the theater and hearing like everyone react to the big major parts at the same time and like feel their excitement or sadness at the same time as I am, it just made the experience a lot like more exciting than say sitting at home and watching something like that maybe by yourself or with like a friend or two. So I do believe that the movie theater experience is worth it.
Okay. So just like
Yeah.
for you mean like there's like a few like examples like
Yeah.
specific films that you think are worth seeing in theaters.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, you just made me think of something along those lines. You know, so if you put a bunch of like-minded people in the same room, um, people are going to come out of that room with like a almost a polarized view of whatever people were talking about. That's just like psychological, it's like some sort of psychological reaction we have where we just start to all move towards this idea. And I wonder if we're going to start seeing, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Like if now things, if they do trend where like streaming starts to take over everything over movie theaters, if we're going to start seeing like more, I guess, diverse or divisive feedback towards theaters, because if you put everyone in that theater, I would assume the vast majority of the people are going to come out, uh, for the most part, probably with a positive experience. I don't think many people are going to go to the theaters and walk out with a bad experience, except me with The Last Jedi. But whatever.
I don't know if I'd call that a bad experience. It was more of a catastrophic experience. You were very upset.
Yeah, but like the vast majority of people in that space, like probably had a really good time, and like out of any movie, and they're probably gonna like have some raving reviews about it. But like when people look back on that stuff, when they have their own time to think about it, I think now that the dust had settled, people look back on The Last Jedi and they say, oh, that's bad. But like when we were all watching it, I feel like the reviews were like 50-50. But now that stuff is going to move towards streaming, I wonder if now that people are going to start thinking, on their own, essentially, if we're going to start seeing like a new trend with the way people respond to movies. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think we could totally see a new trend. Yeah, it's something I've thought about before. Where you watch a movie like Avengers Endgame in theaters, and Joe's 100% right. You watch that movie with a bunch of fans and people are cheering. You might get
Mm-hmm.
caught up in that, and even if you're someone who doesn't like the movie or doesn't care about those characters, you hear everyone cheering, you might walk out of it feeling more positive than if you had watched it on your own. You might have even turned it off if you were on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that's definitely something we might start to see as movie theaters become or continue to trend as less popular. Um, and I hope I'm not cutting off anything you would want to say, Joe, but I wanted to ask Robert before we get too far away from um, where you started with this topic. What would you recommend AMC do? This is kind of a two-pronged thing. So what would you recommend AMC do to enter a streaming service or offer a streaming service to its customers? And do you think that movie theaters are something that are dying? Like that's something we talk about a lot. We see that a lot, that movie theaters are going away, or at least that's something people believe or worry about. And I'm curious, the way you're explaining this makes me think maybe you do think movie theaters are going away, or at least turning into something that's much more niche.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. I guess when I think about it, I mean, I definitely feel like movie theaters are going away, and I feel like if I had to, in like 50 years, say that movie theaters are going to be around or not, I would probably lean more towards like not like in a popular capacity. I think now that you mentioned the niche thing, I actually hadn't thought of that before. I feel like that's probably actually more of the direction that things could go, because um, like art house films, indie films, like do really well at the small local theater experience. And I've been to a few small theaters that are actually like they're very cool to be at. It's like an entertaining experience, but also it's like you have your own home theater, but like with the advanced technology and everything. Um, and I guess also the thought about like AMC, I think that any good business will adapt and evolve, and any business that is trying to cling to the past will fail. That's why I think that like Fox News, CNN, all these big quote unquote powerhouse media stations, if they don't change their ways, they are going to ultimately fail, or someone's going to buy them out and change it for them, which could happen to AMC. Someone could find a way to, um, some company could buy them out and just change their formatting. Um, so I don't really know how they enter the streaming market themselves. I mean, it's the physical location. Um, they could find ways to utilize that space, or they could downsize so that it's like a more niche experience and charge more. um, I guess I don't really have enough information make a full recommendation, but I guess I do see them as failing because I guess I don't see like a clear option on the table. I think it like they could be successful. I think that short term, like post COVID, I think that that's something people are going to want to do. So I think I see like short term success, like long term viability. I think without some dramatic change is just going to lead to failure. Um,
I want to cut in for a second
go
before
for it.
we look more like idiots, I suppose. So Joe is doing a little adventuring. See, this is the thing. I went to movie theaters every weekend, but I've not really adventured into the AMC app since COVID hit. Joe is just looking on the AMC app. Tell him what you found.
So yeah, as you were talking about AMC venturing and like how they would adapt and move on to like the streaming service and stuff, it kind of reminded me. I was like, I believe, like I've heard of this before, and like back when theaters started to shut down, AMC on their app actually added an on-demand feature
Ooh,
where
that's
you
cool.
where you can rent movies. I don't know if they're like older ones or maybe ones that are like coming out at the moment. You can rent them and watch them in your home. So they actually do have something like that right now.
Hmm. I did not know that. I guess with that being said, I guess it depends on how their contracts are with the big movie studios because like the way that everything is dispersed, the AMC, like Disney could decide tomorrow, we're exclusively going to put our content on Disney Plus. And I think that's probably the direction they might want to go because they could probably make more money that way. And well, I guess they could they could lose less money from like sending it to theaters. Um, so I don't know. I guess it depends. I didn't know that was a thing. That's really cool that they're doing that. I mean, that's a smart calculation on their end. People aren't going to go to the theaters, so we need to bring the movies to them. Um,
I think if I had to guess, it feels more like a band aid for them. If I'm assuming, like
yeah,
they said, how can we make some money? There's got to be some way we can bring AMC into the homes of our customers while social distancing is in place. Um, so I wonder if this is something that'll stick around as theaters begin to come back, as COVID tailors off. Um, but I don't know. For me, I think movie theaters are going to be more niche, but how AMC, because I don't think AMC can survive with just allowing people to rent movies, because there's so many other streaming services that offer that in and already have established audiences.
yeah,
But I don't know. What do you think AMC could do, Robert?
man. I don't know. I guess they kind of. I was just thinking, they still have the edge on early access. I feel like so. I guess if they can form some sort of like symbiotic relationship with this like the movie studios to where it's like we have premiere access, all these other companies can get it on demand. Sure, they have like the brand name, probably a bigger base. If they can hold on to that like first dibs, oh man, I don't know if I have an answer for you. I feel like the more I think about it, the more it seems like it's just kind of putting off the inevitable. Um, which I feel like is where like then when I say that I feel like them is like the company that they are and as we experience right now. Um, I feel like if they want to survive, there's
Real,
probably gonna have to be someone buying them out and changing them dramatically.
real quick, somebody meant either Michael or Robert. Somebody mentioned movie theaters may becoming niche in the future. Whenever you say niche, do you mean to the level of like, say, a drive-in theater, or more or worse?
I guess we were both kind of talking about it. I guess when I say niche, I see them downsizing and less people being interested in the theater experience overall. I think it's hard to say that the theater experience will go away entirely, at least anytime in the near future. But let's say in 50 years, um, there are less AMCs, or maybe AMC's gone entirely, and the only movie theaters that are around are locally owned, and they're cheaper, maybe, not less premium, um, or less premium experience. But that experience is still offered for people who want to pay money to go do that thing, because there are clearly people who still want to do it. I mean, Avengers Endgame was making billions of dollars before COVID hit. So, and that's just in theaters. That's just its revenue in the box office. So, I guess that's what I meant by niche.
I think also, there's a bunch of, so like the streaming format and the theater format, like those are different aspect ratios. And like, so there's like some directors that shoot on film. There's only a few that really do it. Um, uh, Christopher Nolan is one of them, like that people would recognize. So there's like a difference between like film and digital, and when you watch it through like a streaming service, that is like essentially converted to digital, because obviously we can't use film through our computers, but like movie theaters can use film. So there's like I don't know how many people care about this, but there's like the way that we can watch things in the way that they were created. And then there's like you know, we used to see this all the time on VHS stuff when we were children. It's like this movie has been changed from its original format,
Yeah.
That's kind of like what happens. So like I remember one specific example. If you watch Interstellar in theaters versus on a computer, there are certain effects that just don't translate. Even though it's shot on film, there's like, it's obviously they didn't shoot space with a camera. They added some effects to that. But the way that everything translates through the film itself, um, there are like some things that just look more ethereal, like more like space when you're watching it in the theater than it does on your computer, because it just can't, it just doesn't translate. Um, but I don't know how many people care about that, I feel like probably the older generation is going to cling to theaters. Um, but like 50 years, you know, we'll be 70 something. So I don't think there'll be, we're already used to the transition. Um, so I don't know.
I think I could totally see that being something even more niche. Like maybe, like I mentioned, like there's less AMC's or less movie theaters, but maybe in, let's say, downtown New York or in major cities, there are theaters that offer that experience where it is a premium movie going experience, to see movies like Interstellar for that are optimized for films that are shot on certain with certain technology or things like that. Um, I think that's what makes sense to me. I could definitely see it going that direction.
Yeah, I don't know. And I could totally be wrong. Who knows? Theaters could stick around, or they could totally be wiped out in a few years. But um,
Final prediction. When does the last movie theater go away?
mm, I'm gonna go with uh, 2077, and here's why. 2076 is going to be the 300th anniversary of the U.S., and they're obviously going to show something in a theater about USA. And then the next year, Hollywood decides to just close down every theater. And they're like, we're done. Just wipe our hands of this, fully online.
You're insane.
I'm sticking with that exact theory or bust.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be the last movie theater. I think is more than 150 years away from
Ooh.
closing its doors. And I understand that technology progresses rapidly. And for us to even imagine what the year 2150 looks like, or 2170 rather, what that would look like I can't comprehend it, I'm sure, but that's what I'm sticking to.
Joey?
Yeah. I don't think movie theaters are ever dying.
Ooh.
I
Infinite
think,
life glitch.
you know,
Movie theaters unlock the infinite life glitch. They're never going away.
I don't think theaters will go away. You talk about technology evolving over time. I just think theaters will continue to. There will always be something similar to a theater, such as like people gathering to view something in a seated area with a giant screen. Something along those lines. Just technology will continue to improve as the world improves. So until the world stops spinning, there will be movie theaters.
Oh my gosh.
And you guys thought mine was bold. Man.
Robert, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah. I fully accept that probably everything I've said today, I mean, outside of the cocaine stuff, I'm obviously professional with that, but everything else probably just totally came out of my ass.
This podcast is made on lies, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, folks, I think we're going to have to wrap it up there. We've told as many lies as we can muster. This has been the JoMiRo podcast. Now, I would like to remind you all that next to me is Joe LaFaciano. I am Michael Kripe, and Robert is Robert Adams. He's not with us, so I can't say on my other side or anything like
Robert
that.
is not with us.
Robert is not with us. He actually passed away in the year 2077 after Hollywood decided to close down the last movie theater. I write for a website called The Escapist. Joe is a stagehand. Robert, remind us what you do.
You can find me at bobbertadams.com and creep on me there.
You have a website?
Yeah. I thought you knew.
No, I had no idea.
Hold on a second. The stagehand is pulling up the website. This podcast is far from over.
You can see all the things I do. I'm
Yes,
not gonna say it.
Currently looking. Where should we start?
The links will be available in the description box of this YouTube video. Will it be on YouTube? I want to be perfectly clear. We found the website to record this podcast mere minutes before we press start record.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest. I think it's fantastic. Now, will it come out okay on the other side? We'll let you be the judge. But for now, I think we're gonna look at Robert's website, and you can too. But until next time, hand me the ukulele, stagehand. What are you doing?
Ukulele coming.
Until next time. Oh God, hold on. Okay. Until next time, this has been the JoMiRo podcast. We can't wait to see you next time when we talk about something else.
JoMiRo.
That'll do it.